Before we dive in, if you enjoy clear, honest talks about men's health, intimacy, and performance, make sure to subscribe and like this video. It helps me bring you more science-based answers to the questions most men are afraid to ask. Penis size has been a topic of curiosity, insecurity, and even competition for centuries. Magazines, locker room jokes, and viral studies have created myths that are far from medical truth. As a urologist with decades of experience, I can tell you that the conversation about average size is both more surprising and more reassuring than many men think. The reality is that what's considered average is well documented in medical literature, and it's not as big or small as some believe. Studies measuring thousands of men worldwide under controlled conditions show that the average erect length falls around 13 to 14 centimeters, about 5.1 to 5.5 inches, with a girth of around 11 to 12 centimeters, about 4.3 to 4.7 inches. Flaccid size varies much more, largely because of temperature, stress, and genetics. Yet despite these well-established numbers, many men still feel they don't measure up, driven by unrealistic expectations from pornography or hearsay. But here's the important part. Women's preferences often differ drastically from what men imagine. Many women place more emphasis on intimacy, confidence, and skill than sheer length. In fact, surveys consistently show that for most women, average is more than enough for both physical comfort and emotional satisfaction. When researchers asked women worldwide about their ideal penis size, the results surprised both men and scientists. In a large study published in the British Journal of Urology International, women reported that while they appreciated certain physical attributes, their perfect size was remarkably close to the medical average. Most participants said that around 6 to 6.5 inches erect was ideal, not the exaggerated sizes men often believe are necessary. The reason? Comfort, compatibility, and the ability to enjoy intimacy without pain or awkwardness. Many women pointed out that extreme sizes could be uncomfortable during sex and even reduce pleasure over time. Instead, they valued aspects like emotional connection, communication, and a partner's attentiveness far more than a couple of extra centimeters. Interestingly, women in long-term relationships reported being even less concerned about size compared to those in short-term encounters. For them, trust, affection, and mutual satisfaction were the true markers of great intimacy. Physical size became secondary once a strong emotional bond was established. This directly challenges the myth that bigger is always better. In reality, what most women call perfect is about balance, adequate size for sensation, but also compatibility for comfort and connection. The obsession with size often starts and ends in the male imagination, not in the female preference. For many men, worries about penis size begin in adolescence and quietly follow them into adulthood. This anxiety is often fueled by locker room comparisons, explicit media, and exaggerated cultural expectations. Over time, these insecurities can become deeply ingrained, affecting not only self-confidence but also sexual performance. Performance anxiety is one of the biggest consequences. When a man is overly focused on whether he measures up, he's less able to stay present during intimacy. This mental distraction can lead to difficulties in achieving or maintaining an erection, creating a self-fulfilling cycle where fear of inadequacy actually reduces performance. Psychologists note that these insecurities rarely have a basis in reality. Most men are within the average size range, and as studies show, women's preferences are much more modest than men assume. However, the cultural pressure to be above average can still make perfectly normal men feel lacking. Overcoming this requires shifting the focus away from size towards skills, connection, and confidence. Communication with a partner, improving sexual health, and embracing body positivity can break the cycle of anxiety. In the end, pleasure and satisfaction are built on trust, chemistry, and presence, not a ruler. When researchers ask women about what truly makes intimacy fulfilling, the overwhelming answer isn't size. It's skill, connection, and attentiveness. In multiple studies, women ranked communication, emotional intimacy, and foreplay far above physical measurements in terms of sexual satisfaction. This highlights a crucial point. Technique outshines anatomy. Good technique isn't just about knowing a few moves. It's about paying attention to your partner's responses, adjusting pace and pressure, and creating a shared rhythm. A man who listens to verbal and nonverbal cues can create far more pleasure than someone relying solely on physical size. It's the difference between a one-note performance and a symphony. Another factor is variety. Relationships thrive when intimacy stays fresh and exciting. Experimenting with positions, incorporating different kinds of touch, and taking time for extended foreplay can deepen connection and satisfaction for both partners. For many women, this attentiveness creates a stronger emotional bond, which enhances the physical experience even more. Ultimately, confidence in the bedroom doesn't come from meeting an arbitrary number. It comes from knowing how to make your partner feel desired, comfortable, and deeply satisfied. The most memorable lovers aren't necessarily the largest, but those who understand that great intimacy is an art form built on connection and creativity. Studies on women's size preferences consistently reveal that the so-called perfect size is smaller than most men think. Research from UCLA and the University of New Mexico found that women, on average, preferred a penis length of about 6.3 inches for long-term partners and around 6.4 inches for short-term encounters, only slightly above the global average. What's interesting is that women often rank girth as slightly more important than length, as it can provide a fuller sensation during intercourse. But even here, preferences vary widely, and emotional intimacy can outweigh physical attributes altogether. The more secure and connected a woman feels, the less emphasis she tends to place on size. This runs counter to a common myth fueled by pornography and locker room talk, that bigger is always better. In reality, overly large sizes can sometimes cause discomfort, reduce versatility in positions, or even require more preparation for comfortable intimacy. Many women actually report avoiding partners they felt were too big because of these issues. The takeaway is simple. Most men already fall within the range that women consider ideal, and satisfaction depends far more on mutual understanding, creativity, and confidence than on meeting extreme size expectations. Worrying about penis size can have a surprisingly strong effect on a man's sexual performance and confidence. Men who constantly compare themselves to unrealistic standards, often shaped by pornography, are more likely to experience performance anxiety, which can lead to erection difficulties, premature ejaculation, or even avoidance of intimacy altogether. This anxiety isn't just in the bedroom. It can spill over into everyday life, affecting self-esteem, relationships, and even willingness to pursue potential partners. The irony is that most of these fears are unfounded, as partners often place far greater value on emotional connection, trust, and sexual technique than on size alone. Studies have shown that when men shift focus from self-consciousness to shared pleasure, satisfaction for both partners rises dramatically. Communication about preferences, comfort, and desires can transform experiences, replacing insecurity with confidence and connection. Ultimately, confidence is far more attractive than any number on a ruler. A man who feels comfortable in his own skin, makes his partner feel desired, and invests in mutual pleasure will almost always be remembered as a great lover, regardless of size. Men often overlook the fact that sexual satisfaction relies far more on technique, communication, and connection than on anatomy alone. Learning to read a partner's cues, experimenting with different positions, and prioritizing foreplay can dramatically increase pleasure for both people. Touch, kissing, and varied stimulation help create a deeper bond that size alone could never achieve. Foreplay is one of the most powerful tools. It builds arousal gradually, increases blood flow, and heightens sensitivity, leading to stronger and longer-lasting orgasms. Focusing on multiple erogenous zones, not just penetration, often results in far greater satisfaction. Using toys, massage, or temperature play can also bring novelty and excitement to intimacy. These elements shift the focus from performance to exploration, making sex more fun and less stressful. When the emphasis is on shared experience, pressure about size fades naturally. The truth is, sexual skill is something that can be learned and improved over time. Men who invest in understanding their partner's body and emotions often find that their confidence grows, their satisfaction improves, and the question of size becomes irrelevant. When women describe the qualities of the best lovers they've had, physical size rarely tops the list. Instead, traits like confidence, emotional connection, attentiveness, and communication come up far more often. A partner who listens, adapts, and responds to their needs usually provides a more fulfilling experience than someone focused solely on size. Many women emphasize emotional safety as a foundation for great intimacy. When they feel respected, desired, and understood, their arousal deepens naturally. This emotional connection often translates into stronger physical chemistry, regardless of anatomy. Confidence without arrogance is another factor that makes a major difference. A man who feels secure in himself and approaches intimacy with curiosity rather than insecurity can make his partner feel more comfortable and open. This comfort encourages exploration, which can lead to more memorable experiences. Ultimately, sexual satisfaction is a full body, full mind experience. The best lovers combine physical touch with emotional presence, playful energy, and an openness to learning what works for both partners over time. Research consistently shows that for most women, size is far less important than how intimacy is approached. Scientific studies reveal that the majority of female nerve endings responsible for pleasure are concentrated in the first few centimeters inside the vaginal canal, meaning extreme length offers little added benefit. Width can create a feeling of fullness, but even here, the body's adaptability means partners of different sizes can still create satisfying experiences. Factors like rhythm, angle, and stimulation of other sensitive areas, such as the clitoris, play a much larger role in overall satisfaction. Hormonal cycles, mood, and relationship quality also influence pleasure more than anatomy. A partner who knows how to combine touch, words, and emotional connection can activate multiple erogenous zones, making size secondary to skill. In short, biology favors technique over measurement. Understanding this can remove unnecessary pressure and help couples focus on building trust, experimenting together, and creating a dynamic sexual experience that satisfies both physically and emotionally. When it comes to penis size, the truth is that confidence, emotional connection, and sexual skill almost always outweigh physical dimensions. Studies and surveys confirm that while preferences vary among individuals, most women value how a partner makes them feel, both emotionally and physically, over exact measurements. Confidence is often mistaken for arrogance, but in the bedroom, it's about being comfortable with your own body and attentive to your partner's needs. A man who focuses on mutual pleasure, communicates openly, and adapts to feedback can provide a more fulfilling experience than someone who relies solely on size. Maintaining good physical health also plays a role. Regular exercise, healthy circulation, pelvic floor training, and hormone balance can enhance performance and sensation regardless of natural size. Combined with emotional intimacy, these factors can turn an average encounter into something extraordinary. The takeaway is simple. Size matters far less than connection, skill, and presence. Focus on building trust, mastering technique, and caring for your body, and you'll find that satisfaction, for both partners, comes from far more than a number on a ruler.